Okay, it is evident from some of the comments to the Alonso video that there's still a huge lack of understanding of some of these key points. So this video is going to explain them.
He's had an awful pre-season test, didn't he? We thought they would be in terrible trouble come the first race.
Oh no! Nicholas Latifi has crashed, and I think that is at turn 14, where we saw
safety car.
Kimi Raikkonen.
Right, the first thing that you need to do is to turn the volume off. Mute the volume on your TV. Don't listen to the hype. Get rid of those flashing images that F1 TV, chop and change, choose to show you, and focus on what is real. And we can do that by looking at tracker view. You are looking at cars going around the track, their location around the track. A car has crashed. It is a safety concern. You don't want other cars coming around that corner and smashing into that, causing a bigger accident and people to suffer injury. So, race control is responsible. They deal with this incident by deploying a safety car. When a safety car is deployed, what happens? It slows the competitors down. The purpose is to try and get those competitors slowed down, bunched up. That enables a window for people to get on track and deal with that situation safely, and then they can go racing again. You can deal with certain incidents using a virtual safety car, and that maintains all the gaps in between the drivers so that all the built-up advantages aren't taken away. But the problem with that is that cars keep passing the site of the incident every few seconds, and therefore you've not got that window of opportunity to clear it up in a safe manner. Hence, they use the safety car. Now, when you use a safety car, the ideal situation is if that safety car comes out on track and picks up the lead car. Then you don't have to wave cars by it before you pick up that leader. Once it has picked up the leader, every car that's behind the leader on that track carries on driving to their delta, which is a slower speed, but that delta is still a faster speed than the safety car. And so what they do, they catch that safety car, and when they catch the car that's following the one in front, they slow down and join this snake of cars that's proceeding around the track behind the safety car. What this does, it enables a safer situation for marshals to get on track, to deal with the incident, for machinery to be on track to remove the car, and then hopefully once these cars have bunched up, once that last of the bunch passes the incident, marshals can jump onto track, sweep away the debris, and they've got 2 minutes before that safety car snake comes around again with which to be on track, doing all that sweeping, clearing the track before the danger of these cars coming by happens again. Now, we know that teams use this as an opportunity to put their drivers into the pits because it's a quicker pit stop for them, in as much that whilst the cars on track are having to be slower, whilst you're in the pit lane, you lose less time relative to those cars. So therefore, if teams can do that, they do. Strategists working for every Formula One team know that. That is part of their job. They know what happens during a safety car period. They know that in incidents like this, it takes about 3 laps or so for these cars to even bunch up. And then it might be a case that during that 3 laps you might be able to get a crane on track to remove the car, but you've still got to get the marshals on track to sweep away debris or stones or whatever might be on track. You've still got to check the barriers to make sure they're capable of absorbing an impact in a similar situation. These things take time. They take at least 3 laps or so. Now, near the beginning of races, when cars haven't been lapped, when a safety car is deployed, that safety car has to stay on track to a minimum until all of these cars that are on track have bunched. Once they've bunched, what you have is all of the cars in a line, first place down to the last remaining competitor in the correct race order, and there's no advantages between any of those cars. They've effectively created the conditions at the start of the race. Nobody's got any time advantage over any other cars. All built up advantages are nullified. That is the requirement in the regulations. When you deploy a safety car, that is what is required in the regulations to happen before you can resume racing. Before you can remove the safety car and resume racing, that is what must happen. Regulations 48.9 and 48.10 demonstrate that. That is what they are there for. 48.12 is only there for situations where there's lapped cars, but it's there to achieve the same thing. It is there to achieve a situation where all the competitors are in the correct race order, nose to tail, with all advantages wiped out. It's effectively a wipe the slate clean restart. That is what it is all about. That is what the regulations are for. That is what must happen before you resume racing. That's what the regulations are. That's what this sport is. And it takes time to achieve that. That is standard. Now look at this. The dots are now bunching. I'm pausing this now. The dots are almost bunched, but Sainz hasn't quite caught up with Stroll. Gasly, who AlphaTauri pitted late in that safety car period to change him onto fresh soft 2, he's making his way around. He is now only passing turn 14. So it's only now whereby turn 14 hasn't had cars passing at regular intervals. They can send Marshals out onto the track and they've got a significant window of time before Hamilton and the safety car come back around. So it's likely that now it's the time when the Marshals are allowed on track to start sweeping that carbon fibre away. Hamilton is on lap 56 now. The crash took place when Hamilton was on his lap 53. This is how long these things take. This is standard. This is standard. And the problem we have with the Alonso video is less than 1 lap after that safety car was deployed, we have Alonso saying this.
I think we need to unlap ourselves, or what do we do?
Not yet. Let's wait for race control to give that instruction.
You have Alonso wanting to unlap himself with urgency within 1 lap. Alonso is the most experienced Formula 1 driver. He knows that when there's a safety car deployed, you just keep lapping until you're given the order to unlap. Yet within 1 lap of deployment of it, he's urging for them to unlap. Why, Alonso? And if you then listen to all his radio communications throughout that period, you will see that it is not right. You will see that his race engineer says things which are not right. When Alonso is finally released, Alonso says, yes, but this should have happened 2 laps ago. Because Alonso knows it needed to have happened a couple of laps ago. It needed to have happened on lap 56 to give them the time to validly restart racing. He knew that. But his race engineer says, don't worry, keep going, because we think the safety car might be withdrawn this lap. Yes, the safety car is withdrawn this lap. That is not in the rules of the sport. There is no reason why his race engineer would think that that safety car is going to be withdrawn there and then. And that's what he says. And you need to understand this. You need to understand that the teams have just all gone with this, knowing that it's not in accordance with the rules of the sport. They have just gone with it. Now, you cannot script something like this. There are too many variables to know. You cannot plan it out with pinpoint accuracy. But what you can have is a general plan and tell the teams, this is what we will look to do, and whatever happens, you go with it. And that is what the teams have done. They have just gone with it. There has been this plan to make sure they got this last lap shootout. It was a plan. And the teams have just gone with it. They've ignored the regulations. They've just made things appear normal, and they have gone with it. And they've set it up. And that is illegal. That is a crime. That is sport fixing. And people think, oh, this is just an error. It's not just an error. It is a pre-plan to achieve a last lap shootout. But they did so knowing that one of those two cars that was in that last lap shootout was odds on to win it. That is result manipulation. That is race fixing. That is what is happening here. And you need to understand the nature of these communications between the teams and their drivers to see what is really going on here. So, watch these cars go around now. Marshals can now be on track sweeping up. They are on lap 56 of this race. Lap 56. These lapped cars need to be released on this lap, and then lap 57 can be that mandatory safety car lap. But it is about this point in time where the message comes through to the drivers that the race control is not going to allow the lapped cars to unlap. And Alonso responds by laughing and saying, understood, making out that it's just one big plot to deny Verstappen any sort of opportunity whatsoever. That is not true. The reason why race control are saying lapped cars is not allowed is because of this. At that exact moment in time at turn 14, there are marshals on track. This is Nicholas Latifi's driver camera. You can see on here where I'm waving the cursor around, there are marshals on track sweeping up. You cannot release lapped cars to send them herring off around the track to try and catch the back of the pack with there being marshals on track. It is a huge safety concern. That is the reason. And what that means is, unless these lapped cars can be released this lap, then we are in for a safety car finish. We know this. We know this. The drivers know this. The race engineers of every team know this. And then what we also know is when this snake of cars goes by turn 14, this lap, lap 56, there are only marshals departing the track there at that time. Which means until that point in time, until Gasly goes by turn 14 on this lap, you cannot release lapped cars. And you'll see where Gasly is at this when they go around turn 14. You'll see where Hamilton is, and you'll see that Mick Schumacher, the last of those lapped cars, it's not possible to release him. It is not possible to release him and him pass Hamilton before they get on to lap 57. Categorically, that is the situation. Once you ignore the noise, once you ignore the flashing images being chopped and changed, you will see this is just the standard procedure. This is what needs to happen. This is Formula One racing. This is how you deal with a safety incident. It's only at this point here now where a clerk of a course would say, now we'll let you unlap these cars. Certain ones of those cars can now speed up. Hamilton started lap 57. Now that he's on lap 57, that's the earliest point in time which lapped cars can be released, and they need to be given a further lap of that safety car before racing can resume, which means it's a safety car finish. That is a fact. That is a fact. The drivers know that. The teams know that. The race engineers know that. And yet, what you hear from them normalises it. You hear from the Alpine race engineer when Alonso is going, yes, but this needed to happen 2 laps ago. He's like, yeah, but stay on the full throttle because they may be bringing the safety car in this lap. That's not in the regulations. That doesn't give Alonso the chance of catching the back of the pack. It's all wrong. It shows you that thing was contrived. The teams were aware that there could be some dirty shenanigans to make that last lap shootout happen. And when it happened, they just went with it. They didn't call it out. They just went with it. That's what they were told they had to do. And that's what these driver videos are evidencing. If you just shut out the noise and actually understand what is allowed to happen due to the processes that must happen in Formula One, you begin to realise what this fix is.